Thank you, thank you.
Well, the Fed's under fire. President Trump's central bank pig, Judy Shelton, she's questioning the need for an independent Fed. Have you ever heard that before? Do we just take that for granted? Meanwhile, Democrat senators want the Fed to be better prepared for climate change. Get this, folks. Both parties are circling around the idea of independence for the Fed and maybe them being more accountable or more susceptible to Washington. On this, I want to bring in former Reagan economist Art Laffer. Art, I got to tell you, both parties seem to be focused in on the Fed because there's no entity out there that can just sort of create $4 trillion in thin air. And I think both sides have great ideas on what they could do with that kind of money if they had greater control.
I have lots of things I could do with $4 trillion. I don't know if anyone would allow me to do that. But, you know, when you look at the Fed, I think the issue of control is really serious. I mean, they shouldn't be independent. They should be under the auspices of the administration. I mean, they get their funding from the Congress. That's true. But, you know, you needed a coordinated fiscal policy and monetary policy. You need an economic policy coordinated by the president. And they should be beholden to the electorate, just like the president, just like Congress is. But Congress doesn't exercise that control, nor does the president, because they're independent of the president. So I think the Fed is, you know, it's not a big deal, but I think the Fed should no longer be independent. They should be part of the administration.
Well, it's interesting because Judy Shelton now bringing up the notion that, hey, whoever said they were supposed to be independent. I'm not a Fed historian. You know, our team has done some work on it. They sent me a lot of links on this, but it feels like it could be one of these things that we just sort of take for granted. And here we have a nominee who may go into the Fed questioning the idea that they should be a separate entity. You know, Art, Americans have questioned this for a long time. How can this entity be outside of everything, perhaps created by and for private wealthy families and private banks, and have this much of an impact on our daily lives?
Well, I wouldn't impugn the administration of the central bank. I wouldn't do that. Wealthy families or other things, political interests. The question is, they should be part of a coordinated economic policy of an administration. And just like the Treasury is, just like the Commerce Department is, just like other trade, all those things are. And this should be as well. And I think Judy Shelton would make a great Fed board member, to be honest with you. I don't think every one of the board members should be the same as Judy, but I like diversity in that board, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But we've had a degradation of the role of. Oh, sorry.
No, I agree with you. Congress is. Listen, they've given away all of their obligations that they've had as part of the government, federal government. But having said that, if the Federal Reserve worked with any respective administration, then we would always see interest rate cuts. We would always be pushing money. I mean, who would ever turn off the spigot? What administration would say, okay, we're in charge now, we're going to turn off the spigot? Certainly the Democrats would take that money and apply it to climate change, the Green New Deal, and a whole bunch of other things if they could.
Well, they might, but, you know, you can't always impugn the motives of the operations going on. I mean, I think the president very seriously wants a good economy. I don't think it's obvious to everyone that lowering interest rates should make it a good economy. Some administrations may want lower interest rates. Some may want higher interest rates. You know, the point of having the tool in your hands is what the administration should have. And, you know, when they're held responsible for the economy, I think they should have the authority to control those things that have the impact on the economy. I like assigning controllability with responsibility, and that to me makes perfect sense in almost every aspect of governance or private business as well. So I would really like to see it that way, but that's not the way. I think a big mistake was done by Bernanke on quantitative easing. I think it was followed by Janet Yellen with mistakes, and these people were not accountable to anyone. It caused an election change. It caused all these other things, but they personally weren't held accountable in any way, shape, or form, and they had a bad model. I mean, if you look at the whole disastrous area from 2008 to the present, it's in large part or in great part by the Fed, as well as fiscal policy and that stimulus spending nonsense.
Well, I got to tell you, Art,
I think the Fed should be.
It looks like I don't know how close they're going to get and how long it may take, but it does feel like the walls are closing in on that once completely independent, unaccountable Fed. We'll see how far it goes. Art, always appreciate your wisdom and expertise.
Let me just say, from 46 to 51, they were not independent. They were a branch of the Treasury. So it's happened before.
All right.
But, Charles, thank you very much. It's fun to be with you.
Always. Same here.